I'd like to take you back to 1960. I'd like you to remember what might have been happening in your life in 1960. The 6th of December, to be precise, 8:26 a.m. It's a cold winter's morning in South Yorkshire in a little mining village called Wombwell. And if you can visualise a 2-up, 2-down terraced house like you might remember seeing on Coronation Street, and in the front room of that house, a new life was born in a galvanised tin bath in front of an open coal fire. The son of a coal miner called Steve Jackson was born at 8:26 a.m. on the 6th of December, 1960. That was me. There started my life that's been incredibly rich with opportunities and challenge and crisis, sadness and happiness. And it has, however, taken a significant life event for me to reflect on how I want to close that life. What do I want to be remembered for? What do I want my legacy to be? If you're a numerologist, you're just going 6/12/1960, that guy's life path will be denoted by the number 7. He'll become the searcher and the seeker of the truth. He'll be focused on analysis, awareness and understanding. The searcher and the seeker of truth bit became quite true because in January 1984 I joined the Australian Federal Police here in Canberra. I became a detective, searching and seeking for the truth. But this isn't about to become Steve's 10 golden rules about how to be remembered as the son of a coal miner who did good. It's not about that. It's not about to become a rendition of Monty Python's The Life of Brian. Remember that classic line? Well, it's simple, really. Try to avoid eating fat. Read a good book. Try to take a walk every now and again. And remember to be kind to everybody of all creeds and nations. I'll let others talk about Monty Python. This is about my story, and it's about my story that's been punctuated by the need to focus on personal resilience. Because in 38 years in my career, I've really worked on how I can make a difference. I'm a leader. I've never been a good bridesmaid. I've really never been a follower. I've always wanted to be in the crucible of conflict, in the field, leading people. But to do that, it takes resilience. And it took an event last year for me to focus on what all that meant. So as I say a few words this morning, I'd like you to think about what your journey might have been. What's your legacy? So mine started in earnest in September 1979. I became the son of a coal miner after being told, you can't do this. I joined the Royal Navy as a midshipman. And then my career progressed into, when I emigrated to Australia, into the Australian Federal Police, been involved in some wonderful opportunities. I was the operational commander for the Sydney 2000 Olympics, supporting the New South Wales Police. And I was incredibly humbled to have the opportunity to be the field commander and the lead investigator in the Bali bombings in 2002, working with some other incredible people, many of whom were Canberrans. And then, of course, my current role is the Global Chief of Security for Qantas. But the most telling point that really starts to ground truth my legacy was the role I played in Bali. Because people who suffer acts of terrorism seldom have a voice. And on that fateful night in October, as a result of 2 bomb blasts, when 202 people died, including 88 Australians, and many hundreds, if not thousands, of people were injured and affected in some other way, there needed to be a voice. And the role of me as the field commander and my team was to help with that voice, to work with the Indonesian police and hunt down those responsible like the animals they were and bring them to justice. And that's exactly what we did. But throughout all of that, and throughout some other challenges in recent years, you need to tap into, as I've found, and I've referred to this saying as a personal reservoir of resilience. You may often feel that you don't have you feel sometimes when you're dealing with adversity, how am I going to get out of this trough? I've got no hope. Everyone has a personal reservoir of resilience. My legacy is to try and provide a voice based on my experiences. What's worked for me, it's not going to work for everybody, what's worked for me to help people unlock theirs. Resilience is something we hear every day, but what is it? Well, simply put, resilience is about dealing with adverse events, dealing with life as close to normal as you can while facing an adverse event or events. It's something, in my view, that is not a gift of nature. You must nurture it, like any other personal attribute. You have to feed it. You have to know it's there. You have to know what food to give it. You have to know how to tap it and unlock it and make it work for you. Because when you're facing adversity, often people have got no idea, no hope about how to deal with it. People like me who've been incredibly lucky, who are strong and resilient, have a role to play in helping people unlock their reservoirs of resilience. The life event I referred to earlier visited me in April last year when I was diagnosed with high-grade stage 4 lung cancer that spread into my liver. Now, looking at me, I don't look like somebody who's suffering from a terminal illness, but I have a primary tumour in my lung, I have a malignant pleural effusion, fluid in my lung, and I have 9 tumours in my liver, the largest measuring 6 centimetres by 5 centimetres. That will kill me. So, yep, another adverse event, but most importantly, where's the resilience that's going to help me get through on this? This absolutely focused and accelerated my drive to work out and advocate my legacy. Because as I started my journey as a cancer patient, I saw people who felt they had no hope. I'm what's called an alky. It's a rare genetic mutation. I'm the beneficiary of cutting-edge cancer research. I take chemotherapy twice a day. My disease this week, I've been in hospital a couple of days this week, my disease is progressing, regrettably, but we get out of the corner. I'm not going to suck my thumb. I never have, I never will. But many people feel they have no alternative. And I'm never going to start a foundation. I'm not going to raise $1 million. But I am a big person with a big voice. And my legacy is to promise to do what I can to allow others to have a voice. But to do that, I've had to develop a couple of golden rules, a couple of waypoints about how I can put markers in the ground for the rest of my life. One of those golden rules is to give yourself options. Those who feel despondent feel they have no options. Yeah? Find some time, either alone or with support, to lay out forensically the options you have, the good bits and the bad bits. And then work out what you can do to deal with the bad ones. But only control what you can control. It's a little like the sword of Damocles, isn't it? The Greek ode of the sword. We've all got a sword of Damocles. It's called life. The sword starts to hang the minute you're born. Often it's large and often it's got a very sharp point. But for some of us, the thread is thin. But for some of us, people like me, who have the opportunity, is to thicken the strand. I can't remove the sword, but I can strengthen the strand that suspends it to stop it dropping sooner than what it normally would. It's about coping mechanisms. It's about developing routine. It's about setting yourself a path, a playbook for how you want to lead the rest of your life. I found for me it's about being sincere if you feel you want to make a difference. because you've all been around long enough to know that when people with a voice take the stage, a lack of sincerity is something that's the first thing to shine through. So if you want to make a difference, then have the courage to stand up and be counted. But if you feel that you don't have that as part of your DNA, you can still make a difference by helping others, by being there as part of a person's social support mechanism, whether as a cancer sufferer or as a cancer patient, as a carer for those with cancer, or any other adverse life event. Recently, I have been asked by the Lung Foundation to become one of their ambassadors, a spokesperson, not to be involved in philanthropy. I've got a big brand behind me. Sure, I work for a fantastic company that's been wonderful in its support, and we are a philanthropic company. But this is about my voice. This is about my story, having been connected, that can help others without the voice take that forward. The Lung Foundation isn't just about people with cancer, it's about people with lung disease. My grandfather died of coal miners, pneumoconiosis. My father, COPD. So it kind of fits. So I see that as a very, very important part of my life to now move off the field of play. I don't need to move on to the crucible of conflict anymore. I'm not going to put my black overalls on anymore and jump into battle with my co-workers and fight the good fight. I've become more of a coach or a mentor for people who are at the start of the journey. That's what my legacy can be in my professional life, but also my private life. Now I'm suffering, dealing with some medical challenges. The overarching thing about my desire to provide a voice, particularly for those with lung cancer, is the stigma. I wish I got $1 for every time somebody says, every day I can guarantee someone will say, "But you look so well, and I never knew you smoked." And for those of you that know somebody that's suffering lung cancer, you'll know what I'm talking about. It does become quite annoying. But lung cancer kills more people than breast cancer, bowel cancer, and prostate cancer put together, but attracts a fraction of government funding. So my job is to be an advocate, to try and get a level playing field, to give people a voice. For those people, like you heard earlier, who don't know what to do. I'm lucky. Sure, I started off in poverty. I was born into poverty. But I've been very, very lucky, and I intend to create an environment to allow others and myself and my family to realise a benefit from my incredibly lucky journey. Throughout all of that, it's about developing a thing that's very important. It's a desire to win and a will to survive. When I was in hospital this week, I was in a mixed ward doing the triage stuff, and the lady, an elderly lady in the bed across from me, was Betty from Temora. And Betty had been in hospital quite a few times, and she was quite despondent, and she'd given up because her family hadn't visited her for 3 weeks. All Betty wanted was somebody to talk to, somebody to help her try and bring back a little bit of that desire to live. So I said to Betty 3 simple things. Betty, look up, aim up, never give up. There's always going to be somebody here to help you. It's just that you may not know who that person or those people might be until tomorrow. But never give up. Never give up. Remember Henry Ford? Henry Ford said, remember when things are tough, think about an aeroplane. What does an aeroplane do? It takes off into the wind. It never takes off with the wind behind it. So in closing, think about the voice and think about your legacy. Thank you.